You and I have had conversations for 20
Yes.
years that I kind of
yeah.
wish I had a little
Really.
microphone there somewhere,
Exactly.
you know?
Think about how many lunches we've had together.
Oh,
know?
yeah.
And there was
At
always
least that, yeah.
something interesting being talked about,
Right.
beyond just the food, but it was just.
A lot of it centered around food.
Yeah.
Welcome to Questions for Designers, where we discuss the ideas, influences, and inspirations shaping creative work today. I'm your host, Max Beach, designer, educator, and advocate for the creative process. Each episode, I sit down with creative thinkers to explore how they see the world, what drives their work, and where they think design is headed next. Joining me today is Jesus Galaz, Associate Professor at Art Center College of Design in Pasadena and founder of Basic Shape. Let's get into it. Jesus, thanks for joining me. Would you mind introducing yourself? Tell me a little bit about what you do and who you are.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much, Max, for inviting me. My name's Jesus Galaz. I'm an associate professor over at Art Center College of Design, previously over at Mount SAC as well. And then also done a lot of different types of jobs, some corporate, some more consulting, IDA with Blue Design, Smith Bruni Design earlier on. And on the corporate side, a little bit more with Jacuzzi and all the brands that they had to do. So
Yeah.
Sundance Spas, Jacuzzi Bath, Thermal Spas, D1 Spas, they had a bunch under their umbrella. So a lot of form, a lot of integration with engineers and marketing and all that. So got to learn a lot about different sides of the business.
Right, kind of the full spectrum.
Yes.
So we first crossed paths as, air quotes here, consultants on the reality TV show American Inventor.
Yes.
And it's been great watching your path evolve over the years. That was right around 20 years ago.
Almost
now.
20 years. Yeah, right about 20 years ago.
Yeah. And what do you remember about that specific experience from your end? And what did you learn from that?
Oh, wow. The speed at which it transpired, I mean, how fast all that went. I remember thinking about having an image about reality shows being real, but
Real,
how scripted they really were. Being kind of a little terrified in front of the camera, in a way.
Yeah.
Being a little bit more, I guess, growing up a little more on the quiet side, a little more introverted, and then knowing that there's going to be possibly millions on the other side of that lens was sometimes a little terrifying. But you don't see that, I guess, as much as when it's all happening really fast. So
You kind of get sucked into it when it's happening, don't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was an incredible experience, first of all. I mean, it was just seeing that side of design. I mean, the way, how fast it happened and kind of the secretiveness around it,
Right.
when it aired. A lot of calls came in. Saying,
Yeah.
Hey, I just saw you on TV. So that was pretty fun. It was a really great experience.
Can you share a little bit about how design first became a part of your path?
Well, I think at first it was, science fiction movies in the past, growing up, Star Wars and all that, but not so much the movies themselves, not the narrative part, but the actual kind of world building of it. I think that was a big thing, and investigating that and seeing who was it that built these worlds and designed all these gadgets and things, and buying the books, all that. And then looking at the back of the books and seeing who these people were. A lot of the times it came up to industrial designers that were doing this. And this, first of all, how that name kind of got into my sort of, lexicon, I guess you could say. And then investigating that further, like what they did, what they were involved with doing, and some more with products that went into more of the entertainment side.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of the initial sort of impetus of that, sort of this kind of from the movie side.
So did someone like Sid Mead or
Exactly.
Geiger was a little bit more of an art-directed style, but it was still that kind of almost industrial art, if you will.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so Sid Mead, definitely Joe Johnston, who's, I believe, also a Long Beach alumni, right?
I think so, yeah.
Nilo Rodis Jamero, a lot of names from the past, that so many names that I think I don't recall right now, but yeah.
How do you then evolve into how you now see the world creatively?
Right around that same time, I think computers started coming around, personal computers. This was sort of early 80s, and being interested in the technology side of things.
Yeah.
Still very interested with art, though. Going to museums. I mean, my parents were really good at taking us to museums and art museums, natural history museums, those kind of places, and then starting to see computers sort of doing cool and interesting things. So I think that's where there was sort of this intersection for me of technology and art that I think I was really interested in. And then going beyond that, actually trying to create some of that art. Some technical, some a little bit more kind of ornate, whether it's trying to mimic a drawing from one of the masters or something and see if I could do it.
Yeah.
Some of it was travel, going to museums in Mexico and other places and seeing some of that art, that there was such a history behind it, and also some technical achievements, like these pyramids and those kind of things.
Right.
So.
And the evolution of architecture from pyramids to some of the colonial architecture and craftsmanship.
Yeah, I think that was a big intersection, I think, for me, and having the technology and the art kind of coming together, and kind of led me first to become actually a technical illustrator before I got into the kind of the ID part of it.
Right.
So
I've forgotten about that part of your background.
Yeah, the technical illustration was kind of I think a big part of it initially, going from two-dimensional blueprints and translating that into isometric, drawings that people can relate with. I mean, now we kind of see it in the IKEA manuals. That's where I think most people kind of see that kind of stuff. I mean, now you can, with the push of a button on a CAD program, you can kind of do it now.
Yeah.
Before we really had to go in and ink all that stuff. And so there was a lot of craftsmanship associated with that as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting connection to seeing something that is rotated in 3D to then in the computer developing those things where, in a sense, starts in 3D and then you pull it back to two-dimensional plans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was really I had to envision the different views going from blueprints basically and seeing, okay, what gets set back, what gets set forward, and what would it look like from this view or that view, and coming up with the simplest drawing possible so that someone can interpret that and just quickly also see that in 3D without the complexity of dimensions and all the other stuff that kind of goes along with blueprints.
Yeah. What project in your past has taught you the most, would you say, whether it was a successful project or a failure or something that really just pulled you along as a designer?
I guess one of the more recent projects that I've had is one called Street Wing, which is an electric plane.
Oh, right.
And I guess in a certain sense it's a success. In another sense it hasn't been a success yet. I wouldn't say it's a failure, but there was so much learning involved with that in terms of the process. And the initial idea behind it was just one guy, one Desert Molnar. And coming from, an idea of his to create this basically an electric racing plane, something that you can drive on the streets, but also have the wings mounted on the side of the plane. And just figuring all that stuff out, like how the wings will be mounted when you're on the road driving it. There was so much learning involved, with fuselage design, with just the steering, the suspension or lack thereof, battery positioning, and taking some proven elements from an existing fuselage and applying it to this new design, basically, so that we know it can fly, even though the one that exists now is a buck, but knowing that it can fly if it was made out of fiberglass. And then also handing off when you're not comfortable doing something like, let's say, the wing design.
Sure.
Handing that off to an expert that really knows all about that stuff. So
the cross-discipline aspect of not only the industries that you're going after that are intersecting, but then you also have the technologies and specifics of each of those can be very different, right?
Yeah. And sort of like the seriousness of it, eventually someone's going to be flying. This, Don't want anything to go wrong. You want to make sure that the experts handle what they're good at.
So where to identify limitations as well as just growth in general.
Great way to put it. Yeah.
What's inspiring you right now outside of design? What's getting you going?
I've always been really interested in, like I said, the intersection of technology and art. And it seems like a lot of things that I get interested in have that intersection or the duality of those two.
You did a lot with photography as well for a really long time.
Yeah,
very
still
much
do.
into the digital end of photography.
Yeah, like with photography, it's always, it's been a really good intersection of technology and art for me. On the image side, it could be taking pictures of family or scenery or wherever it is that I'm going. But when I get together with like groups of other photographers, it's trying to push myself to see things in a new way. It's a really good experience. If you're really trying to, if anyone out there is really trying to see things in a new way, go out with a group of photographers and kind of photograph the same thing. Sometimes you think that you're going to all kind of get the same picture,
Right.
but you'll get so many different results. Some people look at the details, some people look at the overall space of things, some people will actually capture other people capturing things. It could be a little bit more personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really pushes you to see things in new ways and kind of forces you to do that. And then on the flip side is more the technology side. I mean, just having these instruments of creating art, the cameras with these lenses and ergonomics and all that deal with that kind of product. That's always a kind of a fascination for me too. These beautiful instruments of art. And by extension, I mean, lately, like what's been sort of inspiring me, it's lately actually it's been watches. I've been getting into watches lately. I've always kind of worn a watch or just casually. Something, it was just one of those little switches that kind of flips and really appreciate it. I went into a place and tried on it was a really expensive watch. Not that I was shopping for one, but something just kind of clicked, and it's like, hey, I'm going to investigate why do I feel this way? Why does it speak to me? I guess in a certain way. So in the last just month, I've been kind of going down this rabbit hole of just the different types of watches, vintage versus the more technical stuff versus
very cool.
Not necessarily the digital watches, but more of just the analog stuff. And just fascinated by, they've been around for 100 years, right? These wristwatches, and so many designs have come from that in different ways. There's different small, little subtle ways that can be changed, and it really changes the whole attitude of these little tiny products.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're products within products.
Yeah,
almost. Yeah. And an interesting part about watches is they become a personal extension of yourself.
Yes, very much so.
Especially now, because we don't need them. We really don't.
We really don't.
But the idea of having that piece on your wrist is an identifier.
Yeah.
Each of those elements may say about you or your expression.
Exactly.
It's really cool. Thank you. So you've had multiple levels of careers in your life. I mean, you've gone through being very successful in lots of different ways, including being a consultant, working corporate, and teaching for years as well along the way, and now teaching at Art Center. What does success look like for you now?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think it changes throughout your life.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little more monetary. Sometimes it's trying to climb this sort of ladder or whatever that might be, whether it's in corporate or whatnot. Now it seems like it's a little bit more on the just having a responsibility to what I'm imparting to students. Making sure that I don't give them expectations that are maybe not achievable. Trying to keep things that are something of a reasonable pace, I guess you could say. I think having that, responsibility to them, I think is something that's successful right now.
Sure.
And just also having free time with my family. I mean, that's a very successful thing. There was some times when it was just too many late nights, I think, and missing a lot of things. So
I think I remember a few of those nights.
Probably. And then, when you're younger, that you can handle a lot more of that stuff. But I think that's partly what success, I think, means for me.
Excellent. A good balance there.
Yeah.
Where do you think design is most needed in the next decade?
There's, I think, such an onslaught of new technologies ramping up with AI and all that. I think I need to maybe step back a little bit. If designers can filter a lot of this out for just regular folks, maybe whether it's older people or people that are maybe not as technologically savvy, possibly, really make it accessible for them. I see it in car design. I see it sometimes in appliance design, where they kind of throw a lot of things at them, whether it's large screens and touch buttons that really you can't really feel, those kind of things. And then seeing the step back from that, I just recently went to the LA Auto Show and seen a return to buttons, so actual physical buttons on the steering wheel.
Sure.
VW had a big pullback on that. You still see some of the big screens, but they're trying to mimic the analog stuff. They're going back to some of that. really not make it complex. I mean, the accidents are almost the same as they were 20 years ago.
Right.
And all this safety is not really doing much. I mean, is it sort of like these complexity that's happening within the cars? Is that what's to blame? I don't know. So I think what's needed is almost like if possible, not stepping back technological wise in our tools, but in the way the products are presented to people. I think that might be a best way to put it.
Kind of being more of the better filters of that technology through design.
Yeah. Like what gets presented. I mean, maybe a lot of that stuff is happening in the background, but we're presenting a simple way to use a product, and that doesn't make your life any harder to live in any way.
So you don't feel like that onslaught of technology is washing over you as quite as much.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. You have mentioned about what it means to be a well-rounded designer and having thoughts and questions about that. What does that mean to you to be a well-rounded designer?
Wow, to me, a well-rounded designer, is something that really gives value, I think, to the person that's hiring you. Value in that, okay, yeah, you can do the sketching, you can do the research, maybe the CAD, the modeling, all of that. I mean, all that has to do with being well-rounded, but also being professional and being able to work with people, and still be a teachable person, something that you can still, you're out there to learn and whoever it might be. I still learn from my students. I don't feel myself as being like this guy that's kind of knows everything, right? I mean, they teach me a lot as well. So I think being well-rounded, I think, is all of that. Having not just the skills, but the ability to still keep learning.
Oh, that's great. Are there specific skills or areas of design that you feel you are strongest at that kind of help balance you, or any particular areas like that?
Partly is I have this, like, I guess, Trojan horse, I like to think of it. It's like this the rendering part. Sometimes I get into places with that sort of service and then expand from that.
Sure.
So it's like the way I kind of get in a way. So it's like, oh yeah, maybe we can do some design for you and all as well. So I think I'm probably strongest, or maybe known maybe for that. I mean, outside of the educational part of it, I still do a lot of visualization for companies, but I'm always thrilled when I'm involved with some of the design aspects of those kind of things. So
I like that. It's your visualization is your Trojan horse. That's awesome.
All these other little Jesuses come out, one with the sketch pen, one with an iPad or something. So.
Is there something that you have changed your mind about recently?
Changed my mind?
In a wide sense. Mm-hmm. I'm just throwing this at you. So.
Yeah. It's a really good question. I mean, it's something that you don't feel it at first. You don't know that maybe your mind has been changed.
Right.
Or who or what did it. It could have been an event or something.
Or maybe evolved a perspective.
Maybe working in the corporate world, possibly. It was always something I was kind of after.
Yeah.
And after doing that, it didn't seem so thrilling. I mean, it was a lot of that internal politics. It was a lot of other stuff that was kind of going on with the company that, maybe it wasn't something that I was responsible for or had control over.
But it impacted you regardless.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of other people as well. Yeah. So maybe that's what recently, well, at least in the last 10 years, that has probably changed my mind. Something that I probably wouldn't go back to.
Right. The education arena has its own level of that depending on how you get involved, can really push and pull on those strings as well.
Exactly.
So, is there a question you're asking yourself these days?
It's something that people ask me, I think, is like people now at my age, which I'm not going to say.
No.
I was like, when are you going to retire? When are you going to retire? And
interesting.
And it's one of those things where it's like I'm still, in a way, I'm still getting started. That's how I feel. Every, let's say, 10 to 5 years, it seems like it's still I go into this new era, and it's always sort of better than the last, or maybe I didn't know I had in me. I guess I keep reiterating myself, like, what is going to be the next era for me? What do I?
Gotcha.
What else? I mean, even this is kind of a new thing for me.
Yeah.
And at first you kind of get scared about it, but then you do it, and it's like, oh yeah, now I can kind of put that to bed and just move on to the next thing possibly, or do more of it.
That's great.
So I know you and I can My work, if we could keep talking for hours and
Hours.
hours and days, possibly, on all kinds of subjects, right?
Yeah. Jesus Galaz, thank you for joining the conversation. I'm Max Beach. Until next time, keep asking questions.